All right, this is my personal trade log from my thoughts on my Kate, my long swing trade. So if we look at Kate, way back in August here, there was this big gap down, right? It found 22, big gap down on kind of earnings, and gap down significantly. And since then, it kind of came back up and it somewhat filled this gap. You can consider this almost a full gap fill. And then there have been subsequent, from 20 psychological plus, theoretically gap. Then we had a pivot low, a lower high, a lower low, a lower high, and all around, kind of around these whole numbers. 19 came down to a lower low at 17, popped back up. It's like dollar pivot swings, lower high, big lower low. There was a big kind of push down here. Came back up, had some choppy gaps here on earnings. Came back up and hit 18, and then faded off to kind of come around a double bottom. Then kind of big, almost a multi-week rally. Came back up here, found 17 whole number, and faded back off. So key numbers here are obviously 14. You must have a triple bottom in this section here. So then what do we see on the 28th? We saw yesterday that there's this big giant bar, right? So we go from basically this continuation of lower highs, lower lows, complete bearish trend underneath the 200 moving average, everything, and then we see this big bar that breaks through 17, breaks through 18. Obviously, does it on volume. And then today, we see continuation of that. And so this is the key thing, right? There's one thing to have one day. There's a high bar break here, and this found, the same, basically this pivot high, and closed at the high. It didn't wash off that day, so it's closed strong. Then it opened, and it pushed from back down to 17 and a quarter, back up to over a buck and a half to 18, almost 75, and closed higher than yesterday's low, higher than yesterday's high. So for me, this is a potential or a signal that it's we're going to see some support and some strength going into the end of the. Now this is the end of the year. Obviously, a hard time to trade, but so my thoughts here are. Obviously, always difficult to kind of go against the trend, which is exactly what I'm doing on this one. I'm also doing it at a very overextended. This is extremely overextended to kind of get into my position here. But my target is going to be up into this 20 for the full gap fill, the 20 psychological level, and also kind of where we should expect to see the kind of the 200-day moving average. There's a lot of confluence of area up here that if the bulls are going to continue to push this, then that's going to be a very strong target. So the idea is, because I know it's overextended, I'm not going to, I'm going to take a small stab now to see if we can have the continuation of this strength to close. If I'm wrong, I'm only willing to risk, just a little bit in comparison to my overall target. So my average on Kate, I'm in at 1845. So basically, as we saw kind of this push, I'm basically right at the closes, which was, just over this high. The close of the day kind of got in. And again, the idea is to push this up. Now, a lot of things working against me again, as I already mentioned, negative. It's kind of bearish. It's overextended. If I had stochastics, so I'm sure it's over bought right now. So I expect it probably to be some pullback. But if not, again, my play here is just the continuation of 20 from this level. So I'm willing to cut my risk short, so I'm risking about 50 cents. So at my average, then I'm only risking basically 50 cents so that I can put it right under this 18 level, which is kind of where we found, again, whole numbers seem to act very strong. If we get up into the 19, and then I'll start to trail it up probably close to break even, and then once it's a break even, just hopefully let it run all the way to 20, and not trail until it hits there or breaks me out at break even. So what I would change about this probably was I should have waited for a pullback. I imagine if there's going to be a pullback, it's probably going to be to this 17 level, and at that point I'd have to reevaluate. I might have to wait to see kind of if there's a bull flag setting up to a push up there and then a break here. But nonetheless, I'm in early, which is why I'm in very small in this position. It's more for a small stab at losing 50 cents to making a buck and a half. So a 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio, which is where I need to be for something with a high risk of where I'm entering at this price point.